Hey, happy Monday, August 28th. So what's going on? Last week, did you see here in St. Charles, Illinois, the heat index got up to 118 degrees. Oh, I loved it. Walked out and did a 3.5 mile walk, came back in drenched with sweat. I know you might think that's gross, but actually I really enjoy that. Help get the poisons out of your system by sweating it. Anyway, Prigozhin, his airplane, fell out of the sky. Or was it blown up? Well, there's only one person on the planet who thinks it might have been an accident. Everybody else with a functioning brain cell knows better. The other thing is, did you see last week, Wednesday, we had the first presidential debate, and all those candidates stood on the stage pontificating on high. And we have another 14 months of this to go. How are we going to survive? We will. Anyway, let's get to today's topic. That's right. Let's continue our topic on life insurance. People tell me all the time, I don't want somebody to get rich off of my death. And you know what? I kind of understand that. I do this for a living, and I don't want to know that somebody becomes a gazillionaire because I die. So let's look at some of the reasons to have life insurance. One of the reasons for life insurance, and probably the most common reason, is to pay for funeral expenses, right? Life insurance, you don't do that dollar for dollar. You pay a small premium to have that whole thing covered. Final expenses isn't funeral expenses. It can also be short-term bills that need to be paid until the estate can be settled. Health insurance claims that need to be paid that weren't covered by health insurance. Oh, Mark, you just said health insurance. That's right. Well, you know what? If you're the one who's employed and people are dependent upon you, spouse and children, they may lose the health insurance. So you have to have an income there to provide them with health insurance. Oh, I said income. Yes, income. These people that depend upon you, there could be loss. There is the loss of your income. That could be probably. And that needs to be replaced. So life insurance can help replace that income loss. Other things to consider are things such as, geez, I've got children. If I'm not here, how do these kids go to school? Well, there is Social Security benefits, but we all know Social Security is a joke now, right? So you may want to set aside some money for life insurance. Figure out how much you feel is a reasonable amount, and that is what's necessary in life insurance. The other thing that you should be able to set aside for is an emergency fund. What's an emergency fund? An emergency fund could be, oh my goodness, the house needs a new roof. That's because the storm didn't come through, so you could get your insurance company to pay for it. Ooh, I didn't say that, did I? But no, you might find that there's home repairs that suddenly come up that need to be taken care of. Furnace, have to have a furnace. Air conditioner, things of that. What if the car breaks? You have to have money to replace or to repair that car. So these are things that you might consider as an emergency fund. And then there's something that we call the blackout period. The blackout period is typically for families when the children have all grown up and they've moved out of the house, and let's say one spouse has had little or no income because they've been raising the family. Between that time and retirement, typically 65, now it's going to be 67 or so, maybe even 70, they need to have an income. Okay, that income has to be factored into what's necessary for life insurance. That's right, so there's a blackout period. Oh, and hey, here's something else. We could have gone back a couple of needs ago when we were talking about education. Maybe that spouse needs to be re-educated to be productive in society. So maybe money is necessary for that. And then you might want to provide an income for the retirement years. That's all part of life insurance. These are all things to consider. And here's another thing to consider. Inflation. If you have a young spouse who is left behind, say 40 or 50, you're talking about another 40 or 50 years of life left. And inflation, we've been experiencing that the last couple of years here, haven't we? And for those of us who are my age and older, we remember the inflation of the 70s and early 80s, where I think it got up to maybe 20% at one point. When done properly, nobody's going to get rich. This is just basically income replacement, preventing that second hurt, the financial loss of you. And the other thing that I personally believe in, I personally believe that we should leave our spouses and dependent children a legacy. Number one legacy I believe that we should leave them is a good name, that they can say, this is the person I was married to. This is my father. This person here I'm proud to say. That's a good legacy. That's not financial, but you can add financial to that. The legacy can be something like, I'm going to use my parents for an example. When my grandfather died, who I very barely knew, he left my parents enough money that they could buy a 1966 candy apple red Ford station wagon that we vacationed in across this country over the next 10, 12 years. So I suppose my father, every time he got into that car to drive to work, to drive to the grocery, to take his family on vacation, I suppose he thought about the nice legacy his father left him with enough money to be able to buy this car. Now, the other thing is I left in, I'll post it again, is a needs analysis here. Don't be afraid of the numbers you come up with. Please don't do that. It can be very cheap to cover this need with term life insurance. But maybe we'll talk about the various types of life insurance. How about next week? Yes, I understand when people say, I don't want people to profit from my death. We're not talking about profit here. We're talking about protecting your loved ones who depend upon you. Hey, so what's going on at the MLD agency? Well, last week we were able to help out one group on group health insurance. We're looking at working with a couple groups on renewals, and 3 people are getting ready to go on Medicare. The other thing that I'm really excited about is we've brought on an insurance company called Physicians Mutual. That, I'm going to tell you, is a thinking man's insurance company. They're a little bit unique in the marketplace. Very proud to be associated with them now. And if you think Physicians Mutual, you want to learn more about them for your Medicare supplement, hey, numbers on the bottom of the screen. Don't hesitate to give me a call, to send me an email, and we'll figure out what's in your best interest. Until next week,